They say the night before a wedding is the most wonderful time, filled with joy and excitement. For most brides, it's a time to laugh with friends, dream sweet dreams of the future, and count down the hours until they officially step into their new life. But my night was different. I couldn't close my eyes. I sat by the large window, staring at the pitch-black night sky, trying to find some peace. My chest felt heavy. I didn't know why. At first, I thought it was just the usual pre-wedding jitters of a bride. But it wasn't. It was an unshakable feeling of unease, a cold premonition that something was terribly wrong. The house was quiet. The family had gone to bed after a long day of preparing for the big event. Outside, everything was impeccably perfect. The banquet hall was beautifully decorated. The groom was ready. Guests from all over the town had gathered. Under the moonlight, the house looked like a picture of flawless happiness. But deep inside, I felt something that words could not describe. It was not excitement, but fear of a hidden truth. Little did I know that before the dawn broke, I would hear something terrible. Just one word, but it was enough to destroy everything I had built, to change my destiny forever. I was about to discover that I was not a bride, but a pawn in a cruel revenge plot. The house was filled with an eerie silence. Most people had fallen asleep after a long day of preparing for the wedding. In the darkness, I was still tossing and turning. My mind was like a slow-motion film. From the beautiful wedding dress, the long guest list, to the prospects of life after tomorrow. I tried to tell myself that anxiety was natural, but this fear was not excitement. It was a heavy, indescribable feeling. Unable to bear the suffocating four walls, I decided to step outside to find some fresh air. The large house was pitch black, with only a small, weak light coming from the back of the house. I wrapped the blanket around myself, feeling the cold night air touching my skin. Each step I took was very slow, very light, as if afraid to break this fake silence. I intended to sit down on the familiar stone bench in the garden to try to sort out the mess in my head. I walked past a hidden corner of the house, where the darkness was thickest. Suddenly, I heard a familiar voice. My heart sank. It was Zuchi. He was talking to someone on the phone, pacing back and forth in the back of the house. I stopped immediately, not because I wanted to spy or eavesdrop, but because of a fleeting sentence I had just heard. It made my blood freeze. I gently pressed myself against the stone wall, trying to blend into the darkness. My heartbeat was pounding, echoing in my ears, drowning out the sound of the wind. I told myself that I had misheard, that the man I was about to entrust my life to would say something so terrible on the eve of such an important day. But then, another sentence rang out, clear and cold, piercing straight through the darkness and stabbing into my heart like a knife. "I don't love her," he said. The sentence stunned me. I almost collapsed, using all my strength to keep my balance. His voice was low, but clear enough for me to understand every word. My face was hot, but my whole body was cold. I didn't dare to breathe loudly, just quietly moved a little closer, feeling like a thief trying to steal my own painful truth. I needed to hear more, to know that this was just a nightmare. Zuchi continued, "I only married her because of what her brother did to me. This was the only way to make that man feel the pain I went through." I put my hand over my mouth, a natural reflex to stop any sobs that might escape. My legs became weak. Zuchi was talking about Chuka, my brother. The relationship between the two of them was problematic, I knew, but I never imagined it would be this deep a wound. "He ruined my life," Zuchi said, his voice full of bitterness. "I lost everything because of him, and this is how I get revenge on him, through her. I will marry her, yes, but not because I want to spend my life with her. It's because I want her brother to suffer. I want him to feel helpless, like I did." Tears began to fall, but I couldn't blink. I tried to believe that this was just a horror story I was watching, not reality. Was this real? The man I trusted, loved, and was about to marry, was using me as a weapon? All the memories between us suddenly shattered like shards of glass. The romantic dates, the sweet late-night phone calls, the loving texts, all of it was a perfectly orchestrated play. I wasn't a lover, but a chess piece, in a silent, cold war. I felt like I was drowning in an ocean of betrayal. Zuchi had carefully, meticulously built up an image of the perfect lover, only to turn me into a tool of revenge. He did everything to make me believe that we had something real, but it turned out to be just a vicious plan to attack the person I loved most. Love, trust, hope, all crushed under his revenge plot. I couldn't take it anymore. I turned around and walked away, trying to keep my steps as quiet as possible. Once I was out of his sight, I started running. I ran into my room and locked the door. I collapsed on the bed, staring at the ceiling. It wasn't dawn yet, but I didn't sleep. Zuki's words kept repeating in my head, like a broken plate. I don't love her. I want her brother to suffer. I lost everything because of him. My chest felt heavy, like there was a huge rock pressing down on it. This wasn't just coldness or heartlessness. It was cruelty. The feeling of betrayal was more painful than any physical injury. It was a deep disappointment, a collapse of trust. Tears rolled down my temples, wetting my pillow. I tried to find a reasonable explanation for everything, but in vain. I thought of the smiles, the hugs, the vows. It was all an act. Did he ever really care about me? Or was he just acting to complete the role of a groom in love? At 3 a.m., I was still wide awake. My phone was constantly lighting up with messages from friends who were eagerly awaiting the wedding, telling me how lucky and happy I was. I didn't have the courage to open them. My mind was filled with chaos and endless sadness. I couldn't lie still anymore. I got out of bed, paced around the room, and held my head. I felt like I had been cheated not only by Zuchi, but also by fate. I realized that if I continued, if I walked through the doors of the wedding hall this morning, I would be signing my own death warrant for my own happiness. As the clock struck 4 a.m., a cold, iron determination began to replace the pain. Crying wouldn't solve anything. I didn't just need to cry, I needed answers. I needed to face the truth no matter how painful it was. I needed to talk to my brother, Chuka, to understand what had happened between them. How had this feud ruined Zuki's life, and was it really Chuka's fault? I sat down on the floor, leaning against the headboard, hugging my knees tightly, and waited for the first light of the new day. Every minute was torture. It felt like darkness was hanging over everything. Finally, as the sun was starting to rise, I sent a brief text to my brother, Chuka, "Please, come to my room. We need to talk." He walked in, still in his pajamas, looking calm. "Anita, are you okay?" he asked, his face worried. "You haven't looked well since yesterday." I didn't waste any time. I looked him straight in the eye, not wavering at all. "Please, tell me the truth. What happened between you and Zuchi, Uche?" Chuka was silent for a second, his face turning serious. "I was going to tell you one day," he began, "but I didn't know he was still holding that grudge." "Tell me everything," I insisted. Chuka recounted. "We started a business together when we were young. Zuchi was ambitious and pushed us to take out a large loan. I agreed, but I had no idea how he used my name to secure the loan without my full consent. When things started going badly, I tried to talk to him, but he was too stubborn. The business failed. I paid my part of the debt and left." "Wait," I interrupted. "So you didn't betray him?" "No, I didn't betray her. But in her mind, I left her to carry the burden alone. Maybe I could have done more, I don't know. But I never meant to hurt her," Chuka explained. I looked at him, trying to piece it all together. "So, this is why she married you? To hurt you?" Chuka nodded slowly. "It seems like she never forgave you." My hands were cold. Anger and sadness mixed together. Why didn't Zuchi tell me? Why was he smiling and acting like he cared? "Because revenge is something that happens in silence," Chuka said, his eyes sad. "It doesn't always come with screaming. Sometimes, he wears a nice suit and says, 'I love you.'" That sentence ended all doubts. Zuchi wasn't a wounded hero, he was a villain. I decided I had to be the one to end this drama. Not Chuka, not anyone else. That evening, I sent Zuchi a message, asking him to meet me in a private place. Behind the event hall, away from the guests and family. I knew I had to face this demon one last time, and I would go alone. I wore a simple bathrobe, no makeup, no accessories. I didn't need any more disguises. I went there as Anita, the one who had been deceived, the one who had regained her power. I waited for him, feeling the tension rising in my muscles. He arrived, looking confused, even worried. "What's wrong, Anita?" he asked. I didn't answer the question. I just looked straight into his eyes. "I heard everything you said last night," I said, my voice eerily calm. "You told someone on the phone that you married me to hurt my brother, and it had nothing to do with love." His face paled. His hands fell to his sides. He had been caught. The truth was undeniable. I stood with my back against the cold stone wall behind the wedding hall, where in a few hours the biggest celebration of my life would take place. But for me, this place had become a place of execution, where I had to end this tragic drama. I no longer felt sad or weak. The betrayal had ignited a fire of anger and a steely determination in me. Zuchi appeared. He was not wearing a suit, just a simple shirt, but his appearance still exuded his usual elegance. Only his eyes were filled with worry and confusion. He approached, trying to take my hand, but I stepped back, keeping the distance between two strangers. "What is it, Anita? I've been looking everywhere for you. Why did you ask to meet me here at this time?" His voice tried to sound calm, but the slight tremble in it betrayed him. I looked straight into his eyes. My eyes were not filled with tears or pleading, but with disappointment and judgment. "Last night, I heard everything you said," I said, my voice eerily calm, devoid of any emotion. "You told someone on the phone that you didn't love me, that you married me only to hurt my brother, Chuka, that this was the only way you could get revenge, to make him feel miserable and helpless." Zuki's face changed completely. The color seemed to drain from his face, revealing a pale, uncolored complexion that belied the rosiness of a groom-to-be. His hands fell to his sides. He had been caught. The naked, undeniable truth had been revealed. "Anita, you," he stammered, trying to find the words to defend himself. "It's not what you think. It's more complicated." "It's not complicated," I interrupted, determined not to give him any opportunity to backtrack. "Your goal was simple, to use me as a tool, a weapon to destroy my brother's life. Every word, every gesture, every kiss. It was all a perfectly orchestrated lie. You acted to destroy me." Zuchi lowered his head. He sighed, a heavy, tired breath, as if he had been carrying this burden for too long. Then he raised his head, his eyes filled with despair mixed with a frightening honesty. "Yes, you're right. I admit it," he said, his voice hoarse. At first, that was the plan. After the business collapsed and Chuka left, leaving me alone with a huge debt and a ruined reputation, I swore revenge. I saw you, knew you were his sister, and I thought, God has given me a way to make him pay. I felt my stomach twist at this frank confession. This wasn't repentance, this was justification for a spiritual crime. But everything changed, Anita. Really. I swear to you. I didn't expect to fall in love with you. I didn't know it would happen, but it did. After the dates, after the months we spent together, I realized you were different from Chuka. You were the light. The plan for revenge was meaningless. I was going to tell you after the wedding. I was going to tell you that everything had changed. Zuchi tried to move closer to me again, holding out his hand. I stood still, my gaze steady. Love? Did his love exist? You said you loved me? I asked, my voice full of sarcasm. If you loved me, you would never have considered turning me into an object. Love is not built on lies, Zuchi. Love is not a last-minute change of heart when a plan is exposed. You only changed because you were caught. I took a deep breath, feeling the pain in my heart transform into strength. If you loved me, you would have told me the truth from the beginning, or you would have ended your plan and left me to make me happy, not dragged me into this mud of lies. You had hundreds of chances to tell the truth. I looked at the engagement ring on my hand. This ring is not a promise of love. It is a chain to hold me hostage. All I see in you now is not a lover, but a cruel person, someone incapable of true trust and love. You have destroyed the foundation of this relationship. Now, every time you say, I love you, all I will hear is, this is a plan of revenge. Every time you smile, I will see the image of a calculating man waiting for the collapse of my family. I cannot live with that doubt. I gently took off the ring, without a tremor, and placed it in Zuchi's palm. The diamond sparkled in the dim light, but to me, it was just a cold piece of glass. I cannot marry you, Sover Zuchi. You chose revenge over love, and you failed at both. With that, I turned and walked away, leaving Zuchi standing there with the ring in his hand, his face blank and desperate. I walked into the room where my mother was busy checking over the wedding dress. She was a strong, calm woman, but I knew she loved me more than anything in the world. She saw me come in, not with the radiant eyes of a bride, but with an exhausted look. Anita, honey, where have you been? In an hour. She stopped, looking closely at my unpainted face and puffy eyes. Oh my God. Have you been crying? What's wrong? Are you stressed? I went closer to my mother, took her hands in mine, felt her warmth and strength. Tears welled up again, but this time they were tears of relief at facing the truth. Mom, I'm sorry. I can't go through with this wedding, I said, my voice shaky but firm. My mother was stunned. She looked at me as if I were speaking a foreign language. What are you saying, Anita? This is not a joke. Guests are here. You are ruining everything for yourself. Mom, I know, but if I walk through that door, I will ruin my whole life. Mom, Zuchi is not who I think he is. He did not marry me for love. I quickly told her about the phone call, about the bitter words Zuchi had said about Chuka and his cruel revenge plan. I did not need to go into the details of Chuka's business, just about Zuchi's deception and malicious intentions. Mom, Zuchi used me to hurt Chuka. I was just a tool in a despicable revenge plan. All his words of love were lies. He only loved me when I discovered his scheme. My mother's face paled. She was a woman of experience. She saw the truth in my pained eyes. She knew I would never have dared to say these words at the last minute if there wasn't a terrible truth behind it. She dropped her wedding dress, a symbolic gesture. She hugged me tightly, her embrace and acceptance, a protection, a comfort. I believe you, my daughter. I'm sorry I didn't realize it sooner, she said, her voice soft but filled with incredible strength. That boy, he dared to hurt you, to disrespect you like that. My mother stepped back, looking straight into my eyes, her eyes determined. What do you want to do, Anita? I support you. You want to cancel the engagement, right? Yes, Mom. I want to stop. I can't live with a man who sees me as a pawn. Okay? My mother nodded, her face becoming solemn. There will be no wedding today. You made the right decision. You chose yourself. I will take care of the rest. Stay in this room. Don't come out until I tell you to. My heart felt as if a ton of weight had been lifted from my shoulders. Her support was more than just words. It was a wall protecting me from falling apart. I tried to protest. Mom, I will go out there. It's my responsibility. No, honey, you are the bride. You have been hurt. You don't need to hurt yourself in front of hundreds of people. It's my job to protect you. I will handle this. She fixed her hair, adjusted her dress carefully. Before walking out of the room, she turned back to look at me, her eyes shining with anger and pride. She was a woman who would not let anyone hurt her daughter. I sat in the room, listening to the music starting to play from the banquet hall. I knew it was the signal for the guests to be seated. My mother had already left, but I could imagine her strong and graceful steps. The magnificent banquet hall was decorated with thousands of white roses and crystals. The guests were all famous people, whispering and waiting for the moment the bride would enter. At the altar, Zuchi stood there. He had changed his clothes, wearing an elegant white suit, looking perfect, except for the slightly pale face and the tense look in his eyes that he tried to hide. He thought I wouldn't show up, or worse, he thought I would be convinced by his last lies. His premonition of change came too late. He didn't know that now, he was not only facing the bride, but also facing the anger of a mother. The music stopped. The MC stepped out, saying the familiar introduction, creating excitement for the audience. Everyone turned their eyes towards the big door, waiting. And then the door opened. But the person who entered was not me, but my mother. She walked alone. In her formal dress, she walked straight, her eyes staring straight ahead, not flinching at all from the hundreds of curious eyes that were focused on her. Her appearance alone created a deadly silence. The initial whispers quickly died down, replaced by extreme tension and confusion. Zuchi stood at the altar, his face showing shock. After Zuchi fled the church and the hall fell into chaos, my mother and I left in silence. We did not go through the main entrance, but through the secret passage used by the servants. Our car sped away into the night, leaving behind the glittering lights of the mansion, where an unprecedented scandal was taking place. In the car, no one said a word. The silence was not uncomfortable. It was a gift, a shield protecting us from the crazy world outside. I leaned on my mother's shoulder, feeling her exhaustion, but also a deep satisfaction. "Mother," I whispered hoarsely. "Thank you." My mother squeezed my hand. "Daughter, I will always be with you. You did the right thing. No matter what the world says, you saved your soul." When I returned home, I took off my cloak. The wedding dress was left where it belonged. Part of the drama had ended. That night, for the first time in many sleepless nights, I slept deeply and peacefully. It was not a sleep of exhaustion, but a sleep of liberation. I felt pain, but at the same time I was free. The bondage of lies had been severed. The next day, the storm began to rage. News of the historical annulment spread at breakneck speed. News channels, tabloids, and social media exploded. The story was twisted, embellished, and exaggerated. People speculated about the reason, about the feud between Zuchi and Chuka. My phone rang constantly. I faced a barrage of calls from relatives, friends, and strangers who wanted to know the details. It was a tiring and painful process to answer and explain this cruel truth to each person. What hurt me was not the curiosity, but the blame. Some of Zuki's relatives called, saying that I had ruined his reputation, and that I should have kept quiet and dealt with it privately after the wedding. They thought that I was too selfish to cause such a public scandal. "You could have lived a rich life. Why did you choose to humiliate him?" a strange aunt called and asked. I just hung up. I realized that these people never understood. They only looked at fame, money, and social stability. They did not see the price of sacrifice. A married life turned into a silent punishment. I told myself, if I closed my eyes and got married, I would live a life full of lies, controlled by Zuchi, not out of love but out of revenge. I had canceled a wedding, but I had saved my life. Zuchi called me many times after that day. A series of long, detailed messages were sent. The content of them all revolved around one theme: regret and love confession. "I know I was wrong, Anita. I was blinded by hatred, but when I was with you, everything changed. I really love you. Please, give me a second chance. The plan is dead, Anita. The only thing left is you and me. Please don't let what Chuka did destroy our happiness. You saw how desperate I was at the wedding. It was love, didn't you see? I was ready to give up everything." I read them all, but I didn't reply to any of them. I kept my phone silent, staring at these pleas. Every word he said contradicted the truth I heard in the dark night. He only changed after his plot was exposed. If he really loved me, why didn't he cancel the wedding before I found out? Why did he wait until the last moment? Only when I confronted him did he rush to say he loved me to save the situation. The truth was clear, and I learned a bitter lesson. When someone plans to hurt you and only changes their mind because they are caught, it is not love. It is fear of losing face, of losing power. I cannot build trust on calculation, and the truth is buried. Zuchi had the chance to choose love over revenge, but he chose revenge. Now it is too late for him to change his mind. I deleted all his messages and blocked his phone number. I freed myself from his last shackles. The relationship ended the night before the wedding, when I heard his voice in the dark. The days turned into weeks. Little by little, my strength returned. I started going out wearing simple clothes, no makeup, no jewelry. I sat in the park watching children play, feeling the breeze. I started smiling again. Genuinely. I no longer felt guilty. I had lost a big wedding and a large fortune, but I had regained my self-respect and peace of mind. One morning, I looked in the mirror, saw my eyes shining again. I smiled at my reflection and said to myself, "You did the right thing." Sometimes, walking away from a toxic relationship is the strongest thing you can do. It takes courage, determination, and confidence in your own worth. I know not all love stories end at the altar. Some end before they even begin. And that's okay, because what matters most is that, in the end, I chose myself. I didn't become a victim of someone else's plans, and that's the biggest victory of my life.